Time after time, you try to take this castle, but you will never succeed, Skeletor.
Call your champion.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. It's the one and only Optibotimus coming at you with another video review. And on today's episode, thanks to the incredible support of the folks over at Mattel, we're going to be taking a look at their new Netflix Masters of the Universe Revelation Masterverse Skeletor. Now, we already took a look at the Skelegod figure, and that was absolutely fantastic. While we don't know where that guy actually comes from, you know, be it like a daydream scene, like a what-if kind of scenario, or if Skeletor actually gets the powers of Grayskull, we'll find all that out in the future. But obviously, this is how Skeletor normally looks, and is probably his prominent look throughout the series. For the package, much like the other ones, really large box here with the Masters of the Universe Revelation logo right down there, part of the Netflix series, multiverse, all that stuff. You got Skeletor right there. The side here has a gorgeous image of him actually looking very imposing. I love the way that that looks. Even when you come to the back, I mean, that just has a wicked, cool, bad guy look to him. I mean, he is nice looking. I always say it. Literally, they could blow all these images up and you could have a whole separate art department officially licensed through Mattel that would sell this. I know a lot of people that would buy that kind of stuff. I also love that they got Snake Mountain right back there. Very cool. And coming down to the bottom, obviously, you got the other figures that are available in this first wave. And a reminder that Mattel is empowering the next generation through play. But for the packaging on Skeletor here, that's about it. So without further ado, let's get him out here and see how cool he actually is. And here we have Skeletor opened up and out of its packaging. And much like the other ones that I've taken a look at so far, Skeletor here I feel is really well done. Starting off first with his accessories, as you can see, obviously he comes with his most iconic accessory, that being the Havoc Staff. This thing is gorgeous looking. Definitely has a classic sort of look to it, but with a more updated and kind of realistic look. Like the skull here is amazing. I really love the detail that is in there. You can see it is a lighter, kind of grayish purple, and then you get more purple with the horns and such. And then when you come down here to the staff section, it's a slightly more light purple, but does have a kind of metallic look to it. I really love the way that this looks. This is just super wicked awesome. And definitely, when I was talking about Skelegod, I mentioned how it kind of looks like his head looks like his Havoc Staff, and you can see that there. Obviously, these little bits here stick out a little bit more, but I don't know, maybe he blends in. Who knows? We'll bring him in here a little bit more in just a bit, but I really like the way that that turned out. He also holds it very nicely in his left hand, which is sculpted in a position that works well for that, as well as this. And I have no idea what this is. I don't know. We'll more than likely find out through the course of the series, but he does have this. It looks nice. It's a yellowish gold color. It's just a round circled thing here, and you know, like I said, it's a ring thing. I don't know, but he holds it. You just slide it in there, and like I said, I have no idea what it is. Then he does have a fist hand here, and he's got a couple other different hands. He doesn't have one pair of hands. He's got one gripping hand, one fisted hand, one kind of open palm sort of hand, which, I don't know, maybe he's casting a spell, and another one with a kind of grip, but the finger is extended. So he doesn't have any pairs of hands per se, just the ones here are sculpted differently, which that's kind of cool. I don't mind that. But for accessory-wise, that's really all he has. Figure, though, is fantastic looking. I love the way that he looks. I do want to address one thing that I see a lot of people talking about, and that was apparently loose ankles and joints and stuff. Mine are perfectly fine. I mean, setting him there, and well, no, One thing that I would say, it's not that it's loose, it's like the joint for it, the ratchet joint is there, and I talked about it in the review. You have to kind of put it back like that to get him to stand, but he stands fine if you don't have it positioned right. You have this, so it's not that it's loose, it's just there's a big gap between those kind of ratchet sections in there, and you can go like that, bend it, and he's going to be angled funny, but I don't like that. And then people are talking about this. They do sit loose on him. That's not a loose joint or anything. People have complained about the way that the armor is and how it hinders articulation. I don't see how it's hindering any articulation. I mean, it can't go all the way around in a 360-degree circle, but guys, don't take a look at one or two, and maybe mine are just very lucky, but don't take a look at a couple reviews and think that that's indicative of the entire line, because that's not the case. People that have issues with it are very vocal, so if they do 10,000 of these figures, 1,000 of them might have loose joints, and those 1,000 people are going to go online and complain about them, when there's really not much of a reason to do it, because the overwhelming majority of figures are fine. Skeletor's joints here are perfectly fine as well. There's no looseness in. I mean, they're fairly standard. They're not flopping around or anything. But first articulation, the head is on a ball joint, so you get a good range of motion there. I love the way that the neck sits on it. As you can see, it doesn't look like he's hunched over. As I was talking about with Eva Lynn, bring her in. You can kind of see, I had that pulled back a little bit more. So when it's collapsed all the way down, it kind of looks like she's hunched over a little bit. And maybe it's just because of the poofy thing around there. But comparison-wise, here you go, guys. Let's get them all kind of standing here. Obviously, Skelegod is a bigger representation of Skeletor. Works pretty good. Here is my Origins Skeletor, so you can see he's definitely the smallest of all of them, and because I've been using him as my Classics comparison, let's move him off to the back. Here is Hordak, so you can kind of see roughly where the scale works, and the scaling is pretty good. This is definitely a much bigger, bulkier kind of looking figure, but I think size-wise it's pretty decent. I'm fairly happy with it. But his articulation really is pretty nice. It is standard on all of them. You got that ball joint, like I said. Great detail with that head sculpt, too. If I come in so you can see that, I love the way that looks. It has a very bone look. It's not yellow or anything. It definitely has a more realistic sort of appearance to it, but I think that looks really very, very sharp. Mark Hamill never looked so good. But for his shoulders, obviously you got the pin hinge joint, so that moves forward and back, rotates forward and back. You have the swivel. It does have a double jointed elbow. People complain about the giant gap right there. Well, that happens when you get a double joint. You could do a single joint and not have to cover in that gap as much, but I'd rather have more articulation, I guess. You do have a wrist swivel, hinge forward and back. That's kind of stiff, so get that flexing a little bit. So you do have that. You do have this upper diaphragm ball joint thing that does kind of allow you to go side to side, wiggle all over the place, all that fun stuff. You do have a, there we go, waist swivel. That's fairly tight on mine. Forward, back, in, out, rotates at the upper part of the thigh. You do have the two bends at the knee itself. You do have the boot cut. You do have ankles that move forward and back. Hacky sack poses. You got ugly toes and everything down there. Overall, what's happening here? That definitely feels like it's kind of stuck there. Why is that? That's doing a weird thing. There we go. Definitely, I love the look on him, though. The detail with the crossbone thing there. He does have a cloth cape, much like his Skelegod version. You can see there's different variations in the paint there. One thing that's really cool also, and it's focusing on him, you can see that there is some textural detail up here to kind of make it look similar to cloth, but it's all molded in plastic, so it is what it is. But I like the fact that they actually got some kind of sculpting in there to make it look a little bit different. Oh, in general, I really like the way that this guy looks. Sculpt is really very well done on him. And he does have that Skeletor look. Absolutely does. It's just really a very solid looking figure. And you got the little, almost like a Hordak or Horde logo right there. I mean, really cool. I'm definitely curious to see where he's going to kind of go with everything. I mean, I'm curious. I know that they're talking about, or Kevin Smith has talked about how, you get a little fuzzy right there, that this is going to be kind of like a sequel to those original cartoons that we got in the 80s. I'm curious if they're going to bring in the elements, like, for example, what we got with the 2002 series. Get that in there. That's a little bit tough to get in there. There we go. We saw it with some things. I guess that is a little bit loose. So there's that. But I mean, he's just going to be holding on to it for the most part. So let's see. I mean, we have gotten some elements with what is happening. I'm making this look a lot more complicated. Like I was saying with her. And the blonde or the white hair. I did the blonde thing again. The white hair is something that we saw in the 2000 series. So I'm curious if we're going to get things that, like him being Keldor initially, who is the brother of Randor, therefore the uncle of He-Man. And all of that is expanded upon from that 2002 series. I wonder if you can... you could kind of do that. I don't know. I'm just playing around. So that, that was all expanded upon by it. And I mean, I'm definitely curious to see if they utilize some of those bits. I'm trying to get a cool look for him. Yeah, this is fairly heavy in general. So, that does kind of spin around a little bit too freely. But overall, really happy with the way that this guy turned out. I think he's a solid looking figure. The sculpt looks good. The paint on here, yeah, I could probably tighten that, but it doesn't bother me too terribly much. In general, though, I'm really happy with how he turned out. Of the first wave, while Mossman was probably the one I was looking forward to the most, he was probably the second most anticipated figure for me. I just think he looks really cool. But there you go, guys. There's my look at the new Masters of the Universe Revelation Skeletor. If you are interested in picking this guy up, he will be hitting various retail locations fairly soon. So while you're out looking for him, I say good luck and happy hunting. Also, I want to send a huge shout out once again to the folks over at Mattel for helping to make this review possible. And a huge thank you to all of you who watch my videos. If you made it all the way to the end of this one, do me a real quick favor and hit that thumbs up button. Believe it or not, that one very small gesture really does help my channel and goes a long way towards making everything possible here, including being able to get support from the folks over at Mattel, who were kind enough to send the first wave of these figures out to me. That way I can do reviews and entertain you guys. And finally, please remember that the real trouble with the world is that too many people grow up. Thank you for watching and taking the time to be a kid.